There he is. There's the champ.
Hey man, what's up?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dricus?
I am absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely amazing.
I can't imagine why. I mean, things are going your way this year.
Yeah, I mean, things go my way every year.
I guess that's true, right? It's just been up and up and up for you. We spoke earlier this year before you won that pretty championship that you've got somewhere, I imagine, in your house. But you're coming off of this big win over Sean Strickland, close fight. You won the three middle rounds. He won the first and the fifth. That third was a split, real close fight. I know you take a lot of pride in securing finishes, but what did it mean for you to get that experience of a fight like that, fighting full 25 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make the debate that he won the fifth round. I believe he won the last minute of the fifth. And yeah, it was a split decision. Was pretty shocking to me, but I mean, it was an amazing fight. It was an incredible fight. If you look at that fight, entertaining fight, amazing fight. I mean, Uh, like I always say, I always go there to finish a fight. You can see that in my record. I have 19 out of 21 fights as finishes. But at the end of the day, it's entertaining. It's about entertainment and entertaining the fans that pay a lot of money to go watch that fight, especially live. And even though it was a decision, it wasn't one of those boring decisions. I can tell you that it was a action-packed fight, and I have to give credit to my opponent for that as well. He wasn't there; he was also part of that fight, taking the shots, and you know, we had a war. And for me, and he's been in those 5 round fights a lot. A lot of them have been boring fights, where the fight seems from the first round, the pace is set, a slow pace fight, and it's a point match. Even if you look at the Paulo Costa match after that, that was it. And the fact that I went there and I pushed forward, I set the pace, and it was a fast-paced fight against a guy that people said has this gas tank, and people actually criticized me for not being able to go for longer than 2 rounds and gassing out. It was great for me. It was a feather in my cap, and even for me personally, knowing, because yeah, I did get tired previously. We had to make some changes, and obviously with the surgery, which played a very small part, and then changing up with the conditioning and the fitness, all of that. We had the coaches coming in, we had specialists coming in, doing all the tests that needed to be done, and we found some areas where we were lacking, some areas where it wasn't a situation of not training enough. It was a situation of certain ways of training that we neglected. So once we made that happened just before the Whittaker fight. So once we made all those changes, I could immediately feel. I mean, it was pretty evident how my style changes, body language wise, how I breathe, everything changed. And yeah, going that 5 rounds for the first time, going out of the third round, and the fourth round, going out in the fourth round, round number 3 and 4 was honestly the best I've felt. That especially that fourth round, after when I went to the corner end of the third, I just felt incredible. I felt like I was just getting warmed up. So that was incredible for me. And now I know that not only I know I've known I can finish fights for a very long time, but now I know if not, I can not only drag out the decision, but I can fight full speed for 5 rounds and make sure I get that decision. And
Sure.
that's massive.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, I'm glad you elaborated on that because you answered a lot of questions I was going to ask with regard to that. So thank you for that. But obviously, I asked you before that fight, if you were amenable, open to fighting Israel Adesanya, and you were focused on Strickland, understandably so. But now you do have him in front of you. And it's the right guy at the right time. You refer to him as the benchmark. I've seen you call him that. Does that make this fight, any more significant or different in significance than when you fought Strickland to try and win the title?
Well, no, yeah, benchmark used to be the benchmark. I'm the benchmark now. And
There.
that's why I'm the champion. But fighting this fight, this opponent defending my belt. I mean, it's the fight that was supposed to happen in Australia. That's back then happening right now. And the significance, no, it doesn't change. It's not more significant. It's not less significant. The one thing we do know is I beat the guy that beat him. So that's the only thing we have to go on right now, because he beat Whittaker, I beat Whittaker. The last time he fought Whittaker, it was a close fight. Myself and Whittaker wasn't a close fight. And then, of course, the Strickland fight. He got beat up for 5 rounds. I beat Strickland and became world champion. So for this fight now, it's interesting. I think for the fans, it's even bigger. I think for the world, it's even bigger now. For me, it's exactly the same magnitude of a fight, because every fight is the biggest fight of my life. You know, going out there, defending my title, that is absolutely one thing, defending your belt, but that's not what it's ever about. It's being the best fighter in the world. So to be that, I need to beat the guy in front of me, and that is the only thing that makes this fight significant, is the fact that I have to beat Israel Adesanya. And if he had to pull out of the fight right now and somebody else had to step up, it wouldn't be any different to me. The magnitude of the fight is not determined by my opponent. It's determined by how big of a moment it is for me to fight.
Sure, sure. Now, and I'm glad you brought up, the Adesanya versus Strickland fight, because, a lot of people were very stunned, but not just the fact that Strickland beat him, but it was to the degree, right? You talked about this very lopsided fight, which it was. What was your read of Adesanya's performance throughout? Is he a different fighter now at this stage, or was it just an off night? What do you think?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I didn't give Strickland a shot in that fight, to be honest, just like the rest of the world. And Adesanya came out, and at first, and I was one who said that. I actually publicly said it. I said, you could see Strickland didn't beat Adesanya, we know. Strickland beat a guy that didn't look like he trained, didn't want to be there. He was completely off. And, good for Strickland. He stepped up. That's what champions do. He stepped up to the occasion. You can't take anything away from him. And I was happy for him. But I honestly thought, listen, 9 times out of 10, you won that fight, but that can't happen again. Easy is going to beat him. Easy will beat him. And then what happened that was obviously before I actually fought Strickland. And then after fighting Strickland, my whole opinion around this changed, because I went back to that fight and I said, wow, actually, Izzy fought the way he always fights. Staying on the outside, picking one shot. And Strickland's game, after fighting Strickland, saying, you don't just catch him with shots. His defense is too good. He's too tricky to figure out defensively. You need to catch him with throw combos, big combos, and catch him with, you can't just move backwards and think you're going to catch him with one shot. His defense is too smart for that. He has it's too awkward. It's too, his whole posture, the way he defends is, it's very unique to Sean Strickland. And then I started thinking that Adesanya wasn't off that night. It was just Strickland who completely, shut down Izzy's game, and he enforced his game. And that style that Strickland fights was the kryptonite for a guy like Adesanya, because he couldn't land those shots, and the constant pressure, even though he was moving backwards. Strickland, when you let Strickland walk forward and have his, that rhythm fight, because Adesanya is not a big quantity fighter. He's a guy that moves, and then he throws his accurate strikes. But those aren't so accurate when you have somebody with Sean Strickland's defense. So that's when I changed my opinion a little. Izzy wasn't on that night too. Maybe Strickland's style was just a perfect antidote for Adesanya.
Sure. And Adesanya, you bring a different style to the table than Strickland does, and he brings a different style to the table than Strickland did against you, right? But you and Adesanya, there were links that you guys were going to fight at UFC 300. Adesanya said he was ready to go back in April. He said that it was your side that wasn't up for it at that point. Is that accurate? What's the whole deal with you guys in UFC 300?
Well, UFC 300 was it was 12 weeks, right? 11 weeks after the Strickland fight. I mean, it was easy. I broke my foot. We had the scans done. We had all the medical records, so that is on record. We sent that to the UFC. It was pretty easily in that Strickland fight. I mean, it was pretty evident. I was limping. Not sure what I kicked, but it was probably halfway through the second round, and I kicked my foot completely shut. I could feel, you'll see in that fight in the second round. There's a stage where I step and I look at down on my foot, and you can see I almost wobble a little, and yeah, broke my foot, and yeah. So I mean, it wasn't a maybe not. It was a clear no. It was like, oh, sorry guys, we can't do this. So I mean, obviously, I would have loved to be part of UFC 300. They offered me some great money to fight on that card and take money completely out of the equation. Just the magnitude of that event would have been it would have been one of the most amazing things in the world to be on that card, but it wasn't possible. And sometimes things just work out that way. I mean, we have no control over that. And I got the opportunity to be at UFC 300 as a fan, sitting in the crowd, and that was an absolutely amazing experience.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure. But obviously you guys, you now have your date. You're going to unfriendly territory here. You're going to Australia. It's not quite New Zealand, but he's gonna have a lot of fans that come in. He's fought there many times. He's used to that. You're used to being the outsider as well. You've fought all over the world. But also, I mean, there was something that you kind of mentioned about Adesanya, the fact that you don't see that hunger or fire anymore, I believe is what is the quote from you. You're only 30, right? So you've got a lot of time ahead of you. He doesn't necessarily have that. But if you were to put yourself in Adesanya's shoes, what might you do in his situation where they offer you a title fight, but maybe you're not sure if he's got everything in all of his desire there still? What would you do if you were in his shoes?
Well, if I was in his shoes right now, I would find a way to pull out of this fight. To be honest, because I'm feeling great. I'm feeling the best I've ever felt, and that's the banter in me, getting ready for that. But in all honesty, to go and say he doesn't have the fire, I think the fire might be there, but it's just too small. My fire is just shadowing his fire. That's why I don't see the fire in him. It's because of the fire in me. The fire burning inside of me is just overshadowing his, and I think that's where my opinion comes from. Maybe it's just that because I'm hungry like I've never been before. I'm to go out there and do what I set out to do, and win this fight and one step closer to being the greatest of all time.
Now, the last question I had for you, and UFC CEO Dana White's been talking for a while about finally bringing the Octagon to Africa, your home continent, and recently suggested South Africa might be that spot, your homeland. Depending on how this fight goes, though, that was his kind of stipulation. Do you feel extra pressure to get it done, maybe paving the way for an event to come to South Africa?
Yeah, I've been feeling that pressure for a very, very long time. I mean, that was always the goal, being the first African residing champion, and then being the first South African champion. That's always been something that I've aspired to do, is to bring the UFC to Africa. Obviously, as a champion, as the headline, and yeah, this fight's one step closer. But I mean, it was in the talks for when the Strickland fight happened as well. So right now, that's not pressure. That's just excitement. The pressure comes from one thing, and that's winning this fight, no matter where it takes place, no matter where the next one takes place. You talked about, me being the outsider here in Australia, unfriendly territory. No, I wouldn't say that. The Australian fans have been absolutely awesome. People have been, everywhere we go, the people have been very, very accommodating. People have been very, very cool. I think there's a very big similarity in terms of culture and especially humor-wise and socially between South Africans and Australians. That's why there's such a big community of South Africans that immigrated to Australia. So yeah, it's been amazing, and yeah, maybe he's the crowd favorite, but maybe not. For me, there's only one kind of pressure, and that pressure is going out there, fighting and performing.